Chelsea Football Club. You have got away with that one. Very fortunate win for Chelsea, who faced Fulham at Stamford Bridge. 2-0 to Chelsea, but that doesn't do Fulham any justice. Their West London rivals, a West London derby. Fulham only had to travel 1.5 miles to Stamford Bridge from Craven Cottage. This was always going to be a very interesting game because Fulham are a side that haven't even signed any players during this season's transfer window. And Chelsea are probably up there with the teams that have probably signed the most players in the transfer window. Of course, having played in the Club World Cup, Chelsea had to get new players and bodies in for that tournament very early on, like João Pedro coming in for Chelsea during that tournament and contributing instantly during the semi-final and the final, helping Chelsea win that Club World Cup trophy. But that was always going to catch up to them, playing those extra games, not having that extra rest over the summer for the players, finally breathe and just relax. Because players are always going to get injuries, especially with less rest. That's the most important thing. And, now there've been injuries throughout Chelsea's squad. And in this game, very early in the 10th minute, Liam Delap went down with a hamstring injury, and Cole Palmer's still out with his injury as well. Last game against West Ham, he felt a knock during the warm-up and he hasn't played since. But luckily for Chelsea, they have the money and the squad depth to get by. They've just signed Alejandro Garnacho from Manchester United for 40 million, and he was in the stands watching the game today. They brought in Estevao, they brought in Gittins, they brought in João Pedro. These players have come in and breathe a new light to this Chelsea team. And they're shipping out all the deadwood that they don't want either. Nkunku's gone to AC Milan. Nicholas Jackson was going to go to Bayern Munich on loan, but it seems like he's being called back now that Delap's been injured to fill in that striker role. So Enzo Maresca put out that same initial starting 11 that beat West Ham 5-1. João Pedro in the number 10 position, Liam Delap at 9 before he was removed, Estevao and Pedro Neto on the wings, and Marco Silva, knowing the fluidity and danger of Chelsea's attack, put out his Fulham team sheet set up like a back five, initially having a back four on the team sheet, but Castagna playing right wing, who is a right back, who was, yes, flying forward and whipping in crosses for Fulham on the right side, but dropping back out of possession to be that fifth defender for the Fulham lineup. And that proved to work like a charm for Fulham in that first half. They honestly played Chelsea off the park in the first half, sitting deep in their block and soaking up all of Chelsea's pressure, and then breaking on counter-attacks, committing bodies forward, constantly going long over the top to bypass Chelsea's press. For the most part, Chelsea's press did catch them out a few times. Leno gave the ball away a couple of times very close to goal, but nothing came of it. Before those first 45 minutes, Fulham were the better side. Fulham looked comfortable, Chelsea weren't troubling Fulham at the back. And big credit to Marco Silva, his game plan was executed to a T. Fulham have runners on that team. Josh King, Alex Iwobi, these guys are eating up ground on the field. And Josh King, he was just ridiculous before he was substituted out. Only 18 years old, and he had Chelsea defenders on a leash, scoring Fulham's first half disallowed goal, chalked off by VAR. And it was actually a really well-worked good goal that Fulham really deserved. In the 20th minute, Fulham win the ball just outside their own box, directly counter-attack Chelsea. Josh King was wide open on the left. He receives the ball straight in his path, brings it down, cuts in on his right to avoid tossing and bangs it in the bottom corner past Robert Sanchez. A perfectly executed counter-attack that had Fulham going 1-0 up. But like I said, VAR intervened and disallowed the goal, due to a reckless challenge in the build-up. Rodrigo Muniz on Trevor Chalobah. Muniz was doing a roulette with the ball and then steps on Chalobah's foot, are coming together. And the stamping on his foot was not severe enough to disallow a goal in my opinion. VAR deemed it careless, but it's just the coming together that happens all the time in the game. If referees call those instances constantly, then there's going to be no flow to the game. And showing the referee the slow-mo replay is always going to make it look way worse than it actually was. The ref saw it in real time and let it play on, but it was disallowed. And I don't agree, because Muniz has to put his foot somewhere. It just happens to be on Chalobah's foot, who was going in for the ball. He didn't have any intent to injure Chalobah, so Chelsea got let off with that one, and Marco Silva was not happy. And that goal being chalked off really decimated Fulham's mentality going forward for the rest of the game. And to make matters worse for Fulham, Chelsea found a way to get ahead before the end of the first half. Off the back of earning back-to-back corners, Chelsea scored in the 9th minute of 8 added minutes at a time. João Pedro heads it in off a corner, wide open just in the middle of the 6-yard box, leaping up in the air between both Fulham centre-backs. Somehow Bassi and Anderson were just unaware of him being right there. Crossed in by Enzo Fernandez right on the 6-yard line. It was a perfect delivery and really in a dangerous area for Chelsea to score, which they did. In that area of uncertainty where the keeper could come out and collect it, but there's heaps of bodies in front of him, so maybe he can't. And that sees Fulham concede goals to corners in consecutive games now, after that own goal that came in that Man United game off Rodrigo Muniz. And before wrapping up the first half, I just want to talk about Moises Caicedo, because he is ridiculous. He is just the consistent 7 out of 10 performer for Chelsea. Minimum 7 out of 10, I should say. He had an insane block on a Fulham shot that was just destined for the goal. Fulham looked for short in with just Robert Sanchez to beat, but Caicedo just comes flying in out of nowhere, just blocking the shot, and slide tackling it like prime Sergio Ramos. It was insane. But despite that and Chelsea's 1-0 lead, Fulham really deserved to be 1-0 up after that first half performance. They created all the clear-cut chances, and it was a great tactical performance from Marco Silva and the Fulham side. But thanks to some luck and fortune, Chelsea saw themselves go 1-0 up into the second half. Now, that second half had a night and day difference to the first. Now it was Chelsea who were in control and looked really comfortable. Chelsea had found their flow and their rhythm. Enzo Maresca really must have drilled them at halftime with that team talk, because now Chelsea were passing the ball with intent and bite. And early in the second half, Trevor Chalobah attempts to whip an across into Fulham's box, but it hits the arm of Ryan Sessegnon on the way in. He's jumping in the air trying to attempt to block the cross, hits his arm that is in an apparently unnatural position. And here we go again. Another lengthy VAR check from the ref, and the penalty is given to Chelsea for handball in the box. Now, even before Ryan Sessegnon handballs it, João Pedro actually does nick the ball with his hand during the build-up, but it must have not been severe enough because the ref actually saw it on the monitor, but still gave the penalty to Chelsea. And we know the deal. Enzo Fernandez steps up to take the penalty and just smacks the ball straight down the middle past Bernd Leno. 2-0 to Chelsea and a mountain to climb for Fulham. It really was not Fulham's day. A disallowed goal, a very tight decision, a penalty given away for a handball, and Chelsea scoring a corner goal in the 9th minute of 8 minutes at a time in the first half. Fulham had everything going against them on that day. Now, Fulham have conceded a penalty in all of their Premier League games this season so far. Against Brighton, against Man United, who Bruno missed the penalty, and this game against Chelsea. Now, as for the rest of the half, Chelsea's fluidity in the attack saw João Pedro move to the number 9 spot for a section of the game. And Tyreek George, who was subbed on for Liam Delap, moved out wide, before Gittins was subbed on for Esteval. And João Pedro had some chances. He had a 1v1 with Leno, found himself in behind with just the keeper to beat, but he was just that split second a bit indecisive and didn't know whether to chip it over him, go around him, or just smack it past him. There was also a chance where the ball was just fizzed in from the left, very low and hard across the box, and João Pedro just misses it for that easy tap-in on the 6-yard line. And of course, Fulham brought on all their substitutes to try get back in the game, subbing out Castagna for that extra attacker on the right. Jimenez, Harry Wilson, Smith Rowe, Adama Traore, and Robinson all came on eventually. But Chelsea were just running down the clock, closing out the game with their 2-goal lead, which they almost lost because Fulham actually had a corner very late in the game. Swung in through bodies, ricocheting, and looks to be rolling in the back of the net. But who else but João Pedro to be standing on the line to clear it away? He can score or defend, and I thought he played very well. In the 10, he was spraying out perfect balls over to Malo Gusto on the right, and in the 9, he was constantly getting in behind, getting all of Chelsea's best open play chances to score. But Enzo Fernandez ended up getting man of the match. I thought he wasn't even the best Chelsea midfielder with Moises Caicedo right next to him, but he assisted Chelsea's corner goal and he scored the penalty. So I understand it, but on the ball, he was not good for Chelsea during that game. Constantly trying these massive long ball Hail Mary passes that were not working and just looked off of his usual game from open play. But overall, like I said before, 2-0 scoreline to Chelsea does not do Fulham any justice. Fulham deserved way more out of it. Their first half performance was really good. And if their goal wasn't disallowed in that first half, the whole game could have played out completely differently, with Chelsea chasing and Fulham's heads held high. But that's not the way that it went. And honestly, Chelsea on set pieces might only be second to Arsenal, because their corner delivery is scary. Neto and Enzo's crosses from either side. And penalties, of course, Cole Palmer, we know he bangs them in, and if not him, Enzo Fernandez is there like he did today. And yeah, Chelsea go top of the table for now. That all depends on the Arsenal and Liverpool result. Some of the other results are in as well. Man United scrape a win against Burnley with a last-minute penalty. Spurs lose 1-0 to Bournemouth, who are very impressive. I really like them. Sunderland beat Brentford. We'll see when things play out if Chelsea are still top of the league. And Fulham, 2 draws and a loss. It's not looking good for them right now. They haven't started great, but we saw the way that this match played out for them. Deserved more, and Marco Silva will sort them all out. Fulham are a good side. They always give the bigger sides a really good game, and maybe they'll finally sign a player in the transfer window. I can't believe they haven't signed not one player. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this match. Chelsea 2, Fulham 0. The handball, the disallowed goal. Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.